Okay, welcome. I'm Nate Amadon. I'm a CEO of an Agile consulting firm. Super excited for this conversation today. Got Chris Johnson with us, the CEO of iTrellis and the maker of Portfolio Plus Plus. And the reason I'm excited is because I use Portfolio Plus Plus with any client that's using Azure DevOps. It's my go-to portfolio management solution, and I love the tool. So I'm excited to have Chris talk a little bit about it and really explain what it is and why it's valuable. So, Chris, welcome. You want to give an introduction of yourself and iTrellis and what
Yeah,
Portfolio Plus Plus is?
I'd like to start off by saying I want you to do all of my introductions going forward. Thank you very much, Nate. iTrellis creates impactful technology solutions for startups through Fortune 100 companies. And our core competencies are technical project management, software engineering, infrastructure, consulting, data. We build solutions, and we build solutions in Azure. We're a twice certified solution provider by Microsoft in Azure, digital and app innovation and infrastructure. And we're going to talk about one of the solutions that we've published, Portfolio Plus Plus, which is an extension to Azure DevOps.
I'm interested in how you came up with Portfolio Plus Plus and why you decided to build the tool.
So I kind of latched on to the Scaled Agile framework a long time ago.
Yeah, safe.
And safe. Yeah. And I wanted to do it on both my teams and at the programs where I consult for technology solution development. I wanted a better way to show backlogs that have teams that are working iteratively,
Mhm.
where your backlog became a timeline where you could see the work over time and you could not just see your own team, but multiple teams. And so what I wanted to be able to do was to paint a picture at the beginning of a project as to the scope of the work, the teams involved, the work that was imagined,
Yeah.
in the absence of backlogs. Like if you didn't have time to decompose it all the way down to the user story and task level, but you just wanted to paint a picture at the highest level with epics and features,
Right.
that you could do that. And then as the program was occurring, you could dynamically generate the roadmap with the same work items, but from the iteration path so that you could see work in progress. And in this way, I built it just so I could have a better conversation as a technology solution delivery consultant with my clients about what we were building iteratively, when these guys, they don't really care a lot of the time whether we build it iteratively or not, but they do understand Gantt charts and they do understand
Right.
when we're, range finding when we think we're going to get things. So that's why I built it.
We've done a ton of safe work as well. And one of the things I like about safe, I wouldn't say I'm a full safe advocate, but one of the things I really do like about safe is the program board. Okay, it's
Yeah.
like it's this big visual radiator that
Yeah.
shows here's the plan, here's what I'm doing, here's what the other teams are doing, and here's how they all kind of interact. And so, but one of the frustrations I had was, okay, you'd go through a PI planning exercise, you'd do all the stickies, you'd have this huge physical board, and then like the next day, you might as well just ripped it down, right? Because everything starts to change.
Yeah.
And so having a way to just keep a dynamic program board up and keep
Yeah.
that visual in the tool that you're using that has the work, I think is super valuable. And so I think that's really why I kind of latched on to Portfolio Plus Plus because it does solve that problem of how do you see multiple teams and multiple, I want to say projects inside of Azure DevOps, right?
Yeah. I want anybody who's using any methodology at the team level that has work in Azure DevOps to be able to see it on a plan.
Right.
And so, you know, I've always leaned towards safe. I built the portfolio track, if you think about it that way. But anybody should be able to use it, regardless of the methodology, if they have work in Azure DevOps.
No, exactly. And I use it. I'll use it for safe programs, but I also will use it for non-safe programs because it solves that one of the biggest problems I see with orgs is like you have engineering that's working in an agile way, in an iterative way, and that makes sense
Yeah,
because things are always changing. But you have people that own the budget and stakeholders that need to know when things are going to be done.
right.
And those two
The
things,
people who pay for it.
yeah, and you can only go to them and say, "Well, we're agile. We can't tell you when it's going to be done." Like that doesn't fly a lot of times.
It
And
doesn't fly
so,
ever in my experience.
yeah,
Yeah.
most of the time, 99. And so, that Portfolio Plus Plus solves that problem for me, which is how do I present a real-time weather forecast for what is actually happening?
Yeah.
And it's easy and dynamic enough where you can actually, adapt to the to conditions that are happening with the teams. So you built this during the COVID lockdowns, right?
We
So it's
did.
been out there for 4 or 5 years.
About 5 years now. Yeah.
Okay. And it's gotten traction, right? I mean, there's
Well, 4.5 years. I'm sorry. I was still thinking about it. September of 2020.
okay, that's when it launched.
Yeah.
And so since then, I've used it with a handful of clients, but how big is the acceptance rate gone? Like what's the breadth of usage for Portfolio Plus Plus?
Well, it's really taken on. It's been taken on by the Azure DevOps community. So at this point, it's had 20,800 installs around the world. I love the reach that Microsoft has through the Azure platform, where you can publish extensions for their tools,
Right.
Visual Studio Marketplace specifically. And it's been used by our calculation by over 600,000 people so far.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's proven to be useful.
Yeah. And I agree. Like I said, we've talked before, and if there's a program on Azure DevOps, and it's more than just one team, let's say, even if it is one team, I think this is a go.
Even if it is one team.
I think this is a go-to tool that people should at least explore. All right. I think it's worth your time looking at. I think
I
that's a
want to
good
jump in on
overview.
that,
Yeah.
because a lot of people think about portfolio and they only think about program and multi-team coordination. But you can still practice the same principles of
Mhm.
what would feed into a portfolio management program as a best practice for a project team. I
Yeah.
think every project team should have their own roadmap. I
Right.
think a lot of teams use the backlog epic feature timeline, which is one of the views that
Right.
Portfolio Plus Plus provides, which you can see for a project, you can see the iteration path.
Hmm.
Um, but at the same time, I think that you should be able to see a roadmap. And so if you want to see finer grained details, you can see roadmaps that are down to the day and the task level with
Hmm.
Portfolio Plus Plus. So it's not just for programs, it's also for projects.
Yeah. There's so much value in having a consolidated view to help communicate. Um,
Yes.
and um, and so yeah, I'm a big proponent. So
Yeah, well,
let's
it just helps to clear confusion. Like if you're talking about it
yeah,
as part of your Scrum cycle, like when's the work done? Well, it's done here. Well, wait, I thought it was going to be done there.
yeah,
And it just helps reinforce sprint planning every time.
yeah, and just an alignment communication tool to get everyone on the same page. And
Yep.
when programs aren't aligned, bad things happen. Yeah, well, hey, let's do a demo if you don't mind, so people can
Fine.
see, all right, well, what is this thing? And if they're interested in using it and exploring it for their organization, be able to know how to get it, and then kind of the basics of how to get started.
For people who are watching this who are familiar with Azure DevOps, this is the landing page of Azure DevOps. And all of the cards that you see here, which are also rows here, these are the ones I've used recently. All of these cards represent projects. Well, they're technically called projects in Azure DevOps.
Yep.
We're using them to represent different areas of the business. So this is a domain-based view.
Right.
For example, this is where all of our internal development happens, and we call it IP. We also have a design practice, a marketing support function in the company, and we could roll through all of these things.
Right.
But the point I want to make here is that Azure DevOps is really good at the project level of modeling business.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you can create by domain, business domain, line of business. You can create by platform. You can create by horizontal support function, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, there are different ways to categorize what a project is. I've found that if you look at the human organization, and you look at who is the budget approver for these things, that's usually a very good guide for how to set up projects.
Yeah.
With Azure DevOps, you can dive into a project, you can go into the backlog. And in this case, I have mine to view work by epic. I'll make that a little larger.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you see epics here, and you have an iteration path over here, the idea is that you can dive into your iterations and you can drag work into the iteration path.
Right.
And so that is really great in terms of figuring out when you're going to do work, but it doesn't do much in terms of providing a visual of the backlog and when the work is happening. Right. And the other thing is, I might not want to look at all of the work. I just want to look at a portion of the work.
Yes.
And when I talk about the work and how it's dynamic, if you look at this epic, and this is our forthcoming capacity planning release. If you look at this work, there's lots and lots and lots of work and then internal testing to make sure that it doesn't go out and flop.
Sure.
And then we've got, right now we're in regression test. But if I start showing people, especially at the executive level, if I start showing them my backlog, their eyes roll back, they glaze over, they disconnect, they don't understand what I'm saying. If I try and dive into each iteration and show them work at the detailed requirements and task level, even if I put it on a task board, same thing happens. Right. And oops.
Yeah.
But in any case, the idea here is that we want to be able to show a backlog. We want people to have the same interaction they're having with their backlog in Portfolio++. Mm-hmm. So in terms of a demo, I put together a roadmap that follows what I was just talking about. And so if I think about my forthcoming capacity planning release, when I look at Azure boards and I think about the different areas of the business, I don't release IP. I don't release things in a vacuum. Mm-hmm. I have to have input from the design team. Right. I have to have input from the marketing team. And these are non-technical teams. But I still, but in my mind, work is work. And so I want them to use backlogs. I want them to be able to align. I want these three areas to be able to align. And so back to Portfolio++, here are those same areas of work that I was just talking about. And in terms of building by project, here is a subset of the work items that I was just showing in the backlog view. I don't want to just be able to show by epic. Like if I'm focused on the IP project and I've got a major deliverable, I probably do. But if I'm looking at the design practice or the marketing practice, I don't want to show the entire epic for all campaigns in email for 2025.
Yeah.
What I do want to show are the releases that are planned for what's going on right now, what's happening. And I think I set this one up for 2025.
Yeah.
And so we've got, we just had a big release for customer enhancements that we built. Mm-hmm. And now we're doing a new feature called capacity planning. I want to be able to show the features that are tied directly to those epics.
Just recap real quick. So Portfolio++ is an extension you can get on the Azure Marketplace, right? There's a free version and a premium version, and we can talk about that maybe. But you can you can download it, right? It's just on
Yeah,
the marketplace. And then it allows you to create cross-project customizable roadmaps. And so if you go back to the configuration uh,
sure.
that you were showing, what I think is super cool is like the amount of flexibility you have in what you show. Okay, so previously, a lot of times project managers would come in, try to gather all the information, and then put this all together in some sort of PowerPoint that goes stale right away. And this tool allows a much more, I think, streamlined, customizable way to do it. So when you show this, you can basically build to show whatever you want to show, right? Like you can show an epic from one team, a feature from another team, a story from another team, and it's really like what's important, and and how you message it. And so,
Right.
um, and so when you look at this, you can build a base roadmap either by the project, you could do it by a specific team, and those are the columns on the left, right? On
Right.
you get to your roadmap. And then the coolest one that you guys released that I was actually really excited about was
Yeah.
build by query.
Yeah.
Okay, and so this allows you to stop me if I say this wrong, but this allows you to build a query and then use that query to populate what's in the roadmap. So,
Yeah. I've got
so
two
any
demo roadmaps for team and query too.
Yeah, and so anytime that and that will like kind of just take a step out, right? Because you can just like, hey, let's say you want to tag a specific thing or there's a certain field, you can build a query to capture that and it'll auto just generate it on the roadmap.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So every time on that last point Nate was making, every time you refresh the roadmap, every time you change the information on a roadmap, it's going to the Azure DevOps database, if you will, and
Hmm.
pulling that information back so that every time you're looking at a roadmap, it's always fresh. It's always current data.
Yeah.
The other thing that we've done is we've spent a fair amount of time working on performance. And so when you drill down or drill in, we want Portfolio Plus Plus to be really fast so that it supports conversations people are having in real time. Like
Yep.
if someone wants to know why is this taking so long, that's a fairly common question.
This is a common
You
question.
can you
Yeah.
can you can do a download and I'm sorry, a drill down,
Hmm.
and you can see where all of the work is.
Right.
And if bugs is taking a while, like why is that? Do another drill down
Hmm.
and you can see all of the bugs and when they're occurring. Now, this is on a quarterly view. If I wanted to kind of zoom in, I could look at weeks
Yeah.
and do the same thing so that I could see, iterations more clearly.
And
Um,
I love this feature. The ability to customize the view that you want to see, right? So you can do it by quarters. You can select if I want. A lot of times I'll use this for quarterly planning. And so I'll say, okay, here's what we completed last quarter, and then here's what we're planning next quarter. And I can just customize that range for, Q2 and Q3. And then you can add milestones in here, right? That's
right.
super, super valuable. The one feature that I absolutely love that I think is good to show here is the snapshot feature.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the snapshot feature basically allows you to take a snippet of the entire roadmap because sometimes you'll have to scroll and scroll out. And so this just allows like snippet emails or this saves so much time.
I'm really glad to hear that. None of the data, a lot of clients worry like, well, is this storing the data somewhere else?
Hmm.
Especially when I start talking about, the things that we've done to enhance the speed.
Yeah.
And the answer is the only information that we cache is the metadata information.
Okay.
Um, the data here never leaves your ADO, never leaves your tenant. Your data in ADO never leaves your organization. And so from a security standpoint, it's highly secure. We're standing way behind the Microsoft firewall, Microsoft authentication to get into ADO. We follow the Microsoft permissions really strictly. If you're not allowed to see information on a team or in a project, you don't get to see the roadmap that has that information in it.
Right.
The information is highly secure.
Yeah, no, I think that's
You can
important.
also read about our security in our enterprise user license agreement at iTrellis.com or our GDPR privacy statement.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep. Well, I mean, you're connected in with Microsoft as an MVP, so
Thank you.
there's also a level of that where hey, you need to make sure data is secure. How does it determine when the epic closes? Like, there's an end box, right? Like, there's a
Yeah.
start and an end box.
Okay. So this capacity view design feature.
Hmm.
So we take the start date from the first occurring work item, whether it's the feature itself or a child,
Yeah.
and the last work item end date, and that becomes the duration for the parent level item. And
Hmm.
that is true for, top level items like epics all the way down to the task level.
Yep. Not so sometimes I'll get this concern, or we'll say, okay, well, a lot of teams are working, in a Scrum framework, and so they're not preloading items into future sprints. And
Yeah,
there can be there's a philosophical debate on whether or not that's the right way or wrong way. It really is team dependent on project dependent.
yeah,
But if you're and so some people will say, well, I don't preload stuff into my sprints. And so I'm
right.
not going to be able to get a view because everything will just go on forever because they're not assigned. And so one of the features that I use a lot when I run into this with clients is the ability to switch it from that auto view to a manual view. All right. And so what this allows you to do is to just manually input the start date and the expected target. Because that's
And
a lot of times what's happening with when you're in practice, because you'll have scrum masters or product owners, and they're like, okay, I think we've got two more sprints of this left. I'm going to hit the target date here, right? And as you get closer, that weather forecast refines as you get closer
right.
and closer. And so,
Well,
but that functionality I think is really great, especially when you're talking future stuff that hasn't been broken down yet. So you can show a roadmap that says, hey, this is going to be done at the end of Q2, and then in Q3, we're going to do this, and then Q4, we're going to do this. And you can show that using this manual start date and target date.
yeah. So in terms of the target date, I had wanted to originally build the capacity feature inside of Q2.
Yeah.
And so, we got started a little early. I wanted to end before the end of the quarter. But the reality of the situation, as the team started working, is that, we started when we thought we would, but we're still working on it.
Right.
And so, the manual mode in my mind is really good for setting expectations,
Mhm.
or as Nate was just saying, being able to flip back and forth between the two to show what you think is going to happen and then what has happened so far in the backlog with the teams in terms of work that they've committed to in their iteration paths.
Yeah.
So,
And it gives you the flexibility to change them because again, this isn't a lot. This tool gets people aligned, right?
yeah,
It allows you to show what's happening, and it also it's not just aligning for stakeholders. It's aligning for the team as well, right? And I think a lot of times, people when they think about how to communicate will communicate, let's say up the corporate hierarchy, but it's
mhm,
just as important to communicate down, if you would say down, but communicate to the people doing the work as well, right?
yeah,
Because they can be so stuck in the micro that they don't think about, okay, here's the strategy, here's the plan, here's what we're focusing on. So I think
yeah.
that's another great feature that I utilize a lot.
Another helpful feature that we've been asked for more than you would imagine is the ability to rearrange
Yes.
the the work that's out here. And so a lot of people like to be able to do it, so it takes on more of that waterfall context when they're looking at it.
Yes.
Um, yeah,
No, and it's funny you bring that up. That I use that a lot because
yeah,
they'll be like, well, I don't want to. Why do I show something that's going to be down the line before I show the thing? Because our brains just go top to bottom, left to right.
the basics everybody can do. They can download it off the marketplace, install it into their EDO, and they can use it for free.
Yeah.
But they can only put epics on the roadmap. If they want to put on, a finer grained level of specificity, like I've done here, that's a pro feature, that multi-select in settings. The ability to move things around, the Kanban board, anything that has a blue badge next to it is a pro feature.
Like, so this tool is great, but you have to have the foundational structure to really get the value out of it.
Right.
So, a lot of times we'll go in and we'll go to there's a few threads here, but a lot of times we'll go into clients and they just don't have a hierarchy structure. Okay,
Mhm.
so a lot of times there's just a series of user stories that aren't parented. There's a series of features that maybe don't have any epics. Like there's no real thread for how the work actually rolls up into the delivery of what they're trying to deliver. And
Right.
so one of the reasons I really do like this tool is because it's almost like a forcing function to get good portfolio management practices. And
That was
and
the intent. I appreciate you saying that.
good. Yeah, because I think it's so true because it's like, oh, I really love this view and I love how I can see all the underlying work. And it's like, well, then you have to be a little bit disciplined about how you're organizing and how, things are actually going into features and how things are parented. A lot of times I see that the benefit of this tool is the byproduct of sound portfolio management practices. Um,
I
and
like to think
so
so. Thank you.
yeah, I think that they're complementary in that way, right? Because you want to get that view, you want to get the ability to have that sort of alignment of what's going on with your team and your project. And so you've got to be disciplined in how things actually are hierarchied up. Portfolio plus plus solves the problem of inner project mapping, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so you can pull from any project you have inside your Azure DevOps instance.
A user can pull from any project to which they've been granted access.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So if
Yeah, explain
let's say
that.
that we haven't, well, so we do work. We have clients in government,
Hmm.
different areas, both federal, state, and local. Um, and so in one particular case, we're working with a state government that one of their major departments has about 256 projects in one organization.
Okay.
And about 65 of those are active. The rest are in a sort of resting state.
Okay.
And in order to reduce complexity and confusion, they limit, and also for data access purposes, they limit the number of projects that their individual users, depending on their role and level, can see.
Right.
And so if you're just working on one project, you're probably only going to have access to that one project.
Gotcha.
But if you're a program manager, you're going to have access to several. The
Mm.
point is that a program manager would see far more projects and be able to create roadmaps that are much larger than the individual who hasn't been provided that context.
Right.
And so if you have a public roadmap, if you've saved it public,
Mhm.
um, the individual person that I was referring to would not be able to see it because they don't have access to it. They wouldn't be able to load it, but you could take a snapshot and
Mhm.
publish what you do want them to see.
Right.
Yeah. And so um, that's the permissions model. We follow it very strictly.
Perfect.
And I do want to show Teams and build by query when you're ready. But
Yeah. No,
I'm
I
enjoying the
think,
Q&A.
no, I think that, no, yeah, well, we should definitely show that. And I think but I do think that's important to highlight, right? Is uh, because I see that too. I see clients where they just, oh, we'll just build another project. We'll build another project. We'll build another project. And so the ability to pull different work from different projects, from different streams, and put them on one view is
Yeah.
super valuable, right? Because a lot of times you'll have this big initiative, this big release that's coming out. The majority of it's in one project, but then you'll have dependencies on these other teams. And so you can go into those other projects and pull them into a view. And I think that is
Yeah.
a huge feature that a lot of organizations would benefit from.
You mentioned, the pattern, sort of the anti-pattern, where people are just like, yeah, let's just create another project.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that. But I've also been amazed as Portfolio Plus Plus has been rolled out at some of the enterprises, global enterprises, truly global enterprises are using Azure DevOps, and they have loads of projects and
Mhm.
thousands of people all working inside of one organization. And so, they're using Portfolio Plus Plus, so it scales.
Yeah.
And no matter what your project creation pattern is,
Right.
uh, yeah,
Awesome.
it's kind of amazing
Yeah. No,
uh,
it's
the
great.
scale that Azure DevOps can handle, and we have to handle
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah, I mean it's a powerful tool
Yeah,
but the more organized and the more aligned your structure is and the better your practices are, the more value you're going to get out of it. And
yeah.
so I just think Portfolio Plus Plus is another way to um, accelerate that. Yeah, let's talk about you said build by teams, build by queries.
Yeah, the two other ways to build a roadmap, and this actually fits really well with what we were just talking about.
Mhm.
Some of the larger clients have had guidance where prior to Portfolio Plus Plus, where is that? Received guidance that they should put everything in one project and divide the project into areas, and then teams would have areas. And then with respect to a team can have one and only one iteration path.
Mhm.
Um, and so they wanted build by team. They wanted to be able to divide that project up into teams rather than the project itself. Otherwise, they just had this huge list of
Exactly.
iterations without that ability to put in a team filter by area.
Yeah.
And so this is the build by team feature. It works exactly the same way. You go into options, but instead of just selecting a project, you select the project, and then you can select a team where there's more than one uh,
Hmm.
area.
Yeah.
And so you can see that here on the roadmap. Build by query is the most powerful.
Hmm.
And in the case of build by query, and by the way, all of these things are hot linked. So if you click on the query, you can see what the query is. You can go into the editor,
Sure.
take a look at it. And our first release, we just had a flat list of work items, but our last release included work items and direct links and tree of work
Oh,
items.
okay.
So literally anything that you write as a shared query, it has to be a shared query.
Hmm.
Um, Whatever the result set is, whatever the query, whatever the result set, what you see is what you get. So
Hmm.
in this case, I'm looking for work items that are epic and I want active.
Yeah.
And so when I go back to Portfolio Plus Plus and that query runs, these are the selected work items that are active at the epic level across my organization. So I
Mhm.
forgot to mention one key detail. This particular query is you set cross project not in Portfolio Plus Plus for build by query. You do for the other two features, but
Yep.
in the case of cross project queries, you have to set the query build by query in the query.
And so what's interesting from my perspective, right? Because we do a lot of this with clients. We do a lot of like, how do we structure Azure DevOps? How do we report the right things? How do we, help organize the backlogs? And so a lot of times you'll have a bunch of different stakeholders that need different things. and they're
Right.
very interested in a certain aspect or a certain thread. And so, you can quickly go in and say, okay, this is kind of like a let's say a security update from the security team that every team has to do. All right, so
Right.
you can go into build by query, find some sort of tagging or some sort of way of pulling all of the security stuff, and then you
Yeah.
can just build that query, and then whenever you talk to the security stakeholder, you can present them with this and be like, okay, here's a roadmap. You can see all of the work that you were asking for in one view. And so
I
it's
think I can do that on the fly right now, and it'd be kind of cool. I'm glad you brought that up. So let's say that you use tags.
yeah,
And so in this case, I'm now showing the epics that I've tagged with capacity. And you've got three different modes. You can filter based on the selected work items only. You
mhm,
can filter based on selected work items or their children. So if either shows up, you end up, like if you have a child way down deep in the hierarchy, you can show it and all of its parents up to the top level.
awesome.
And then strict, which is both the parent and the child has to have it in order for either the child to be shown.
Okay,
So we're going to choose this sort of loose filter, and we're going to apply it to the capacity tag. And so now, when I open this, I can see things that have capacity, and I can see all of the features that have the capacity tag on them.
nice.
And if the time frames are really short, I can change the labels to be longer with a background so that it makes it easier for people to see it.
Yeah,
The other thing that's really cool is that you can go into options and you can turn off tags. So some of our government clients in particular only want, like they may tag things a billion different ways, but they
right.
only want to be able to show the tag that they're interested in on
Mhm.
the query. And so there was a new capability on this that just disappeared as soon as I turned it off. So
Okay.
the last thing I wanted to say about this is when you do build by query and you say something like show me my active epics,
Mhm.
you never have to update the settings for the selected work items anymore.
Right.
It automatically picks the things that fit the context of your query and the filters that you create. And so I've found that when I do like a big visible where I have all the teams get together to talk about the program as a whole, that I can save views. And so this would be the capacity view.
Right.
And so the next time I come into the roadmap, I can switch really quickly to the capacity view off of the default of what I've built.
Yep.
And so I can do that and just go team by team
Right.
through the roadmap, showing exactly what I want each team to see.
The ability to customize and you keep rolling out new features that are awesome. So you know, I didn't know about that one. So
Yeah.
I think it's great. Well, I mean, I think the message that I wanted to get out of this conversation is like there's value in this tool. There's value in structuring your program in a way to make this tool really become super valuable for you. Because when you have the right structure, the right discipline, the right roadmaps, like everything just becomes easy, and you start saving just a ton of time with like you're no longer spending all this time trying to get the answers because you've built a structure in Azure DevOps that makes everything clear and allows you to actually focus on solving technical problems, which is what really we should be spending most of our time on. So.
Yeah.
Anything final you want to say, Chris, before we drop?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This has been fun.
Yeah. Yeah, we
I
should
made
do this
it
again.
easy.
We should do this again. So, uh,
And if anyone has any questions who happens to see this video, I'm available, Chris at iTrellis.com.
perfect. And yeah, we'll drop the websites in the notes and probably some information if they want to dive deeper into Portfolio Plus Plus. So,
All right.
thanks for joining me, Chris. Appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, Nate.